it has been the most compelling day so far in Donald Trump's criminal hush money cover-up trial because for the very first time today, we heard testimony from Stormy Daniels, whose alleged sexual encounter with Mr. Trump is at the very heart of this case. Remember, the rendezvous itself was not a crime, not in Nevada, nor would be any alleged hush money payoff to Stormy Daniels. The crime, according to the New York District Attorney, is the falsifying of business records that were used to conceal the payment to keep Stormy Daniels from telling her story publicly in the days leading up to the 2016 election. But today, Stormy Daniels told her story under oath, explaining how she met Trump at a golf tournament in Lake Tahoe, then got a dinner invite where the meeting location turned out to be Trump's hotel room. Mr. Trump allegedly greeted her at the door in satin pajamas, and to spare you the details that she revealed in court, we'll just say one thing led to another being the alleged sexual encounter. But the defense took major issue with much of the explicit content and moved for a mistrial, saying that all those details that she had been told that the prosecution and Stormy Daniels had been cautioned not to tell had nothing to do with the case itself. And the defense attorney said that her testimony had gone over the guardrails that the court had set. Judge Juan Merchan has denied the motion for a mistrial. Stormy Daniels right now is being questioned by Trump's attorneys. Let's get straight to CNN's Caitlin Collins. Caitlin, you were inside the courtroom all morning. What were those moments like in the room as Stormy Daniels testified, especially about some of the details that the judge had cautioned the prosecution from steering away to steer away from?
I mean, it was uncomfortable, Jake, and certainly intense. And that was when it was just the prosecution questioning Stormy Daniels. That was before the cross-examination started that's happening right now. But it was kind of this moment in the courtroom where there was actually another witness who testified before Stormy Daniels got on the stand talking about Trump's books and quotes from them about how frugal he was and how involved he was in his business. No one even remembers that because, of course, everyone at that point understood that Stormy Daniels was going to be the next witness on the stand. And she testified that she had not seen Donald Trump since 2007. So it's been 17 years. And now here they are coming face to face inside this courtroom as she walked behind him at the defense table and took the stand. And then about 10 or 15 minutes into her testimony, the prosecutor asked her to stand up and identify Donald Trump. And she kind of had to lift up out of her chair. She pointed to him, noted that he was wearing this navy blue jacket. But Jake, I mean, it was just remarkable to see how Trump was reacting as Stormy Daniels was testifying. And as you noted, going into those explicit details about how they met. You know, he was kind of grimacing at points when she talked about, you know, what he said about Melania Trump. The only time she was brought up, that he noted to her that she said they did not even sleep in the same bedroom. He had a scowl on his face for most of the time, but he was paying attention, Jake. There was no period for a sustained amount of time where he was closing his eyes like we've seen in other instances as this trial has been going on. He was paying very close attention. At one point that seemed to be mouthing denials when she was telling stories about that night they met, but certainly paying attention, Jake.
And right now in court, Trump attorney Susan Necheles is suggesting to Stormy Daniels that her story that she told under oath earlier today about a man threatening her, the Necheles, the Trump attorney, is suggesting that the man never existed. Stormy Daniels said, yes, absolutely he existed. Necheles said, is the story made up? Stormy Daniels said none of it is made up, and the court is taking a brief afternoon break. I wonder, Caitlin, if you could describe Stormy Daniels' demeanor. Do you think she came across as credible? From the excerpts we were given from inside the courtroom, it sounded like she tried to make some jokes, even X-rated jokes at least once, and they didn't seem to go over particularly well with the jury. How did she seem?
Yeah, that seemed to kind of be a defense tactic from her, just essentially talking about her line of work and what she does. And obviously, it's not like an accountant or a publisher getting up there and talking about manuscripts that they review. And that was the witness who went before her. And so I think that was why she was making those jokes, talking about her business, talking about, you know, certain competitions that there are. Miss Nude North America was one of the ones she brought up. And she was very personable and casual and conversational, and I think that is why she was kind of making some of those jokes. But Jake, she was speaking very quickly. She seemed nervous when she initially got on the stand. There were at least 4 instances that I counted where the prosecution had to ask her to slow down because the court reporters couldn't keep up with how quickly she was telling her stories. And then there were two instances where the judge actually intervened and asked her just to directly answer the question that she was being asked, not to meander or to give, details about what the tile looked like in the suite of where she said she met Donald Trump at that Lake Tahoe casino. And so there were points where it seemed uncomfortable for her to talk about, what it was like, and it was just so intense in the room. I think that's why really no one was laughing at her jokes. I think there is a real question of how the jury perceived her and how they believed her. The one thing, Jake, though, that I do think will be hard for Donald Trump to do going forward is to deny having any kind of encounter with Stormy Daniels, which, as you know, to this day he has done, because she did have such intense amount of detail of what he was asking her, about her putting him on speakerphone, about the people that she went with when she went to meet up with him at later occasions. I mean, it was an incredible amount of detail from Stormy Daniels for Donald Trump, who, was sitting there listening to this after he's denied ever even knowing her.
Yeah, and it seemed as though Judge Merchan, who again, the court started today before they brought in the jury, and Judge Merchan was pretty clear that he thought that all that Stormy Daniels, in terms of the encounter itself, all that she needed to say was that there had been a sexual encounter, that they had had sex, and anything after that, beyond that, he didn't think was needed. And yet, the prosecutors and the witness did not go along with that, and obviously causing the defense to move for a mistrial, which was denied, but who knows what will happen on appeal, assuming Mr. Trump is found guilty, which is far from a foregone conclusion. It did seem as though Judge Merchan was frustrated with the prosecutors. Tell us about that.
It was noticeable, Jake. I mean, I took a moment, and you have binoculars when you're in the room because you want to be able to really see their expression to know what you're reporting out. But given there are no cameras, and truly there should be cameras because it would make such a difference if everyone could experience what a few of us have gotten the privilege of experiencing in that room, he was noticeably uncomfortable as she was going into some of the details. Really, it was Stormy Daniels' prerogative here, though. I mean, the prosecution was asking her pretty open-ended questions. Tell us about that interaction with Trump, or explain what the two of you talked about there. And she would take those opportunities to go into intense detail. I mean, it was incredibly detailed. I'll say that, Jake. And so there was a question where the judge was, there was this intense moment, a few moments where they were asking her. She was going into this really uncomfortable detail. You could see Trump and his attorneys talking. He was passing notes to them. Finally, Susan Necheles, his attorneys, started objecting repeatedly. And instead of doing what he has been doing throughout a lot of this trial, where the judges kind of rejected their objections, he was sustaining them. He was going along with them. And he took a moment to say something to them and to ask, after the brief morning break, to ask the prosecution to make sure that they were keeping her to answer just directly what is at the heart of this case. It clearly did not want it going out. And then, of course, that is what Trump's team was complaining about, Jake, when they got back in the room. CNN's Paula Reed has been watching all of this and reading all of these updates with us. And Paula, if I was describing the intensity in there this morning, I mean, this cross-examination took on a whole other level just now.
Yeah, and remember at the start of the day, the Trump team was outraged that they had so little notice about who the witness would be and so little time to prepare their cross-examination. Well, clearly, Caitlin, they're doing just fine. This is a devastating cross-examination. They have gotten Stormy Daniels to concede she hates Trump, that she has said that she would dance if he went to jail. They have pointed to the fact that she has said she will never pay him hundreds of thousands of dollars that she owes him. They've effectively undercut her credibility by getting her to talk about conversations she had, that impeaching her with her own book. I mean, this has been devastating for Stormy Daniels' credibility. Now, big picture, what does that mean for the case as a whole?
Yeah.
Well, maybe not much, because she doesn't have any direct evidence of the falsifying business records. What she could explain today is what exactly Trump was trying to hide between the Access Hollywood tape and Election Day in 2016. This illicit sexual encounter with a porn star back, over a decade prior. She was able to explain to the jury that and how she got paid. But I think what we should really take away from today is this is a preview of what Michael Cohen can look forward to. This kind of sort of devastating, eviscerating cross.